Good morning. This is Ron Brown. It's the 29th of September 2023. This is something I do every morning for subscribers to my Insider Club. This takes me 10 minutes when I'm not talking, but I'm going to try to go through this very quickly. What I do is I go into the designer and then I click on this arrow, clear it, I load a selection. I create my own top 50 even though one is created by HTSI, and the reason I do that is because I've been doing it for years and it's just an old habit. Then I click on this. I want to get rid of this. It's going to be the 28th, data from the 28th. I'm creating a historical record is what I'm doing. Or at least it goes back a year and a half, and then I delete it. But I can go back and see what worked. Now I'm going to make a group from this. And I do not need an index. And this brings up an HTML page, and it tells me which stocks have appeared in most user groups. And these are Woodward and Brown groups, Steckler, Ghilardi, Jeffrey Scott, and so on. So the stocks that appear the most go to the top of the list. You can see 16 occurrences here, 12 on this one, and so on. And then I can refer to this during the day and see which ones were the strongest, or just go down the list and look at the charts. Okay, so I do it on the long side, and also I clear this and I do it on the short side so I can see weakness. Just type in the word short. And you can see that LNZA is at the top of the list. And they both go in this September folder. And then from there, I go to my top 50 GIR and I go into my warehouse view. And what I'm looking for here, I go under my files and I go to number 2. Impulse reaction. I call these impulse reaction because they're pulling back from a recent high. This is back from the prior day's high. And a lot of times these are good setups which go higher. See a slight pullback. So I save this, alternate G, and I go into my swing high pullback, locate the month of September. I forgot to copy the date, 2023, 09, 28. I'll copy that for the next thing. Okay. And then I hit my alternate space bar, go back to all securities, click on this, and I move down to perfect speculator stocks that are hitting either a 52-week or a 3.25 year high. And you can see there aren't very many of them today because the market's been going down. But if I click on this right here, and if the number 798 shows up, it means these are hitting a 3.25 year high. If there's a 0 in this column, means they're hitting a 52-week high, and if there is a 798 and a 0, it means they're hitting both an annual high, and let me do a weekly chart here, and a multi-year high, as you can see. Okay. And then what I do is I append this to the perfect speculator stocks, which are in my non-index stocks, and that goes in there. And then at the end of the week, I will go to that particular folder where these were added, and I'll empty it, and I keep a user smart group of all stocks that are within 5% of their 52-week highs or their multi-year high. Next thing I do is I go back to or I stay with all securities, I'm sorry, and I just go down to the market leaders. These are stocks within 5% of their 52-week highs. And I look, you can see, as you would expect, oil and gas, midstream, exploration and production, integrated oils, because money's been flowing into oil stocks. And then I do an alternate G, go into my user groups, my non-index files, and I'm looking for market leaders. Go down to the current month, then I'll paste that date which I saved, and then I have a record of the market leaders. And this goes back a year and a half, depends on when I cut the file size down. Then I stay with the all securities. My next stop is earnings due dates. I sort on this. The earnings due comes to the top of the list. There are 5 in the HGSI industry groups that are reporting today. So I click on this, go down to earnings due, locate September, Control V. I have to change the date to the 29th because they're reporting today, and there are 5 of them. Click on no. Then I go back to the designer again. Close some of these to keep this from being too long. And I go to earnings out. And this is really important when the earnings season begins. But I just do it throughout the period. And then I go into groups, user groups, non-index groups, earnings due. Locate September. I go to the 28th. And there should be a few in there. Here's 23.94. You can see there were 6 yesterday. So I'll keep this up until the earnings season begins, and then I just dump it out and start over. Then I go into my smart groups. Now, I've been keeping Woodward and Brown and Gil Morales smart groups for quite some time. I rarely refer to the Morales groups because I've developed so many of my own user smart groups, but I do it out of habit because some customers still like to have them. So I drag those down, and I do I do use the Woodward and Brown smart groups occasionally for reference. Control V. And then I am now keeping a record of my smart groups. Now these are stocks up and down. This captures the intraday close. I keep these down here under my user smart groups. I go under my top smart groups and I go to stocks and groups moving up and down. This is the end of day. I just drag it up here. And then right now I'm tracking a list of CanSlim type stocks, stocks with consistent earnings growth. That goes up there. And then I have instant watch lists. These are stocks based upon filters that are created every day. Crossing over the 3 and the 6 and undercutting and setting up. So the reason I do this is so I can look back and see how they've performed on certain dates, when the signals were. And then here's a perfect speculator history. So these are the groups that go in here, and I'll grab that one group at the end of the week. Perfect speculator history. Stocks within 5% of 52 weeks high, and that's what goes into my perfect speculator folder, which is up here under the industry groups. It's actually down. I'm getting confused with all these opened here. It's right here. This is the group which is edited on Saturday morning, and it'll just contain the perfect speculator stocks within 52 weeks, within 5% of the 52-week high. And then I do one more. I've got a folder here. I just started this for those of you who have been following me in August, but this is money flow in and out. I just dump that in there, and then I can track the money flow in and out of the market, and I can go back and refer to these and see when stocks began to move and how that played out. It's good to have all this information. In a few minutes, I'll go in and analyze the NASDAQ chart, and we'll take a look at the money flow. Then I just have a few more to do. I go to my VPA flags. I track the VPA. And that goes here. Next, this is a group I've been following for years. It's the top raw combo stocks. The winners are usually in this folder at some point because it's a combo ranking that picks up high relative strength stocks that are on the move. I save that. And I can run group inclusion reports on all of this to see which of these are working. Now, these are the best of Woodward and Brown stocks. This is a way to quickly find top stocks. You can see there's 10 in here. These are the 10 stocks which appear most often in the top 50 group inclusion report. Let's take a look at Super Micro. You can see this one got up here and sold off, but it appeared in enough of those groups on the original top 50 group scan that I ran that it's appearing again. You can see there's earnings. But it looks like it's setting up nicely. It's in a trading range, but it did appear in the top 10. Let's look at another one. How about this? Okay, now this one pulled back and was under accumulation here, and it had an effort to rise yesterday. It's at resistance, but you can see why these stocks are appearing in the top 10 with the most smart groups. I should say smart group occurrences. Okay, that's best Woodward and Brown. Then I just track stocks and groups moving up. And stocks and groups up and down. I'm doing the downside now. And I'm doing the upside. And this is great historical reference because I can go back in and run these group inclusion reports and see when these stocks appeared in these groups. And usually, many times I should say, they're appearing before the 3-6 crossover and so on. But it's just anyway, that's the non-index file, which is in the add-on every day. And what I do then is I export it just to make sure I have a copy saved, and then I right mouse click, go to group subfolder index options, and select no index for this group, and this removes all the indexes, so these are not involved in the updating time. Without an index, they do not add to the updating time. I just click that and run through it, and I'll let that finish, and then I'll move on. After the indexes are removed, I'll re-export it, overwrite this file, and then I will add it to the zip file and put it up on the server. Now that only took me, well, close to 15 minutes even with my talking. Now, there are several user groups charts, they really don't take that long to update, end of day or intraday, so I'm just leaving them. This is something that I haven't developed yet, but I'm working on it, and it's just a concept. I do a lot of experimenting. A daily group inclusion report. So these are a few groups that I'm experimenting with. Stocks and groups up and down, 15 and up, 1 to 15, cancel them, type, end of day, instant watches, and so on. You can say there are several groups. Now, if I want to run this, you don't have this. It's not included because I'm not ready to release it. I probably will after I come up with something, but I just go up here and run this report, and I'm going to clear it. I'm going to move this over so I can see what I've got here. Go to my user smart groups, daily group inclusion report. It contains these groups. Not everything is in here. As you can see, I left a few. Well, let's see. No, I do have them. It's early in the morning. So I click on this and then I check. You can see these aren't checked here, but if I check children, then these are added. And then I can run a customized group report. If I want to make a group report from this, I'll just go ahead and I'll call this a test. So what it's doing, it's pulling stocks out of these custom groups, and it's a customized group report. So what you can do is set up your favorite groups, user smart groups or regular smart groups, and then you can build a custom group report. Like I said, I'm not ready to release this yet. I just started experimenting with this, and I just wanted to show something, one other thing you could do with this powerful program. Let me type in OWL. Let's just take a look at it. And you can see that this one is setting up nicely. Here's an effort to rise. The 3 went above the 6 on here. CEIX is the next one. And that one has already broken out. Now what I would do is I would go back and run a group inclusion report with the history and see how many times this stock has appeared in other user groups. You can do all kinds of things with this. Let's just do one more. How about, I haven't looked at Hilton for a long time, HLT. First of all, let's go down here and see what groups it's in. Well, it's a choppy stock. I wouldn't touch it, but it's appearing because it came up in these user groups right here. It is showing in money flow in. Okay, I'm going to do one more. How about JBL? Should be beaten down. Okay, big move yesterday. Must have been on earnings. That was the estimate, and it came in at 245. So this is earnings news, and that's why it's appearing on the list, because it had such a big move yesterday. That's it for my pre-market. I just wanted to show you a few things and see what comes with the Insider Club membership. A lot of history is what comes, and then you can experiment, and I'll get into more of that in another video.